In 2023, US banks filed over 1.8 million suspicious activity reports with the federal government. 1.8 million. A disproportionate number of those reports flagged accounts belonging to Americans over the age of 60, not for fraud, not for crime, not for anything illegal, for ordinary, everyday behavior, the kind of behavior you and I do every single month without thinking about it. Now here's what I need you to understand right now, before we go any further. There are three things happening in the American banking system right now that most retirees have no idea about. The first, banks can freeze your account without warning, without explanation, and without your consent, under a federal program that has been quietly expanding for over 50 years. No phone call, no letter, no heads up. You find out when your card stops working. The second, once your account is frozen, your Social Security deposit can land in that account and you can't touch it. Your pension check can land and you can't touch it. Your automatic bill payments start bouncing, and the bank is under no legal obligation to give you a timeline for when that ends. The third, and this is the one I'm going to come back to because this is the one that most people never find out about, involves what happens after a freeze that your bank is legally prohibited from telling you. I'll explain that in a few minutes, and I promise you it's going to change how you think about your accounts permanently. The account they froze wasn't a drug dealer's. It wasn't a scammer's. It belonged to a 68-year-old retired school principal in Ohio who had done nothing wrong, nothing, and she had no idea why it happened until someone explained the system to her. Your bank has a legal obligation to report you to the federal government. It has no legal obligation to tell you that it did. In the next 18 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how this program works, which specific account behaviors trigger a freeze, and most importantly, the 5 concrete steps you can take today to protect yourself, including one move that takes about 10 minutes and costs nothing. Stay with me. My name is Marcus Graves. I'm an enrolled agent. That's a federally licensed tax professional authorized by the U.S. Department of the Treasury to represent taxpayers directly before the IRS. That's not a bank license. It's not a brokerage license. It's not a financial planning certificate you get after a weekend course. It means I'm licensed by the same federal government that licenses the agencies that regulate your money. I sit on the other side of that table. Here's what that means for you. I work with clients after things go wrong. After the freeze, after the flag, after the letter arrives from a federal agency, after the money disappears from an account and no one at the bank will explain why. That's where you see how the system actually operates, not how it says it operates in the brochure in the lobby. I work with retirees who are living on Social Security and a small pension. I also work with retirees who have IRAs, brokerage accounts, and investment property. What I'm going to tell you today applies to both. The amount of money in your account does not protect you from this. The behavior in your account is what matters. Now, I want to say one thing about your bank before we go further, because I'm going to be honest about this. Your bank has a compliance department. That department's job is to protect the bank from federal regulators. It is not their job to protect you from the bank. Those are two completely different objectives. And the people making decisions about your account are not your branch manager. They're an automated compliance system following a federal program that has been expanding since 1970. An enrolled agent sees the IRS side of your financial life. That means I've seen what triggers a flag, what follows a freeze, and more importantly, what prevents both. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. I'm going to tell you about a client I'll call Dorothy. Dorothy is 71 years old. She's a retired registered nurse. She lives in Macon, Georgia. She was married for 41 years. Her husband passed away about 3 years ago. She has a checking account and a small savings account at the same regional bank she's used for 22 years. Same bank, same branch, same teller window, most Fridays. Her monthly income is $2,240 from Social Security and a $610 pension from the hospital where she worked. She owns her home. She has no debt. She is not wealthy. She is careful. She is responsible. She is, by any reasonable measure, exactly the kind of customer a bank should want. After her husband died, Dorothy started managing her own finances for the first time. Her husband had always handled the cash side of things, so she started doing something simple. She started withdrawing $900 a month in cash, usually in 2 separate visits to the ATM, $450 at a time, to cover groceries, gas, and what she called her walking around money. She'd been doing this for 14 months. She wasn't hiding anything. She wasn't structuring anything. She was a 71-year-old woman who liked having cash in her wallet. One Tuesday in March, Dorothy went to use her debit card at the grocery store. Declined. She tried again. Declined. She called the bank from the parking lot. An automated system told her the account had been restricted and she needed to visit a branch in person. She drove to the branch. A 26-year-old teller told her, and I'm nearly quoting here, that the account was under review and she could not access her funds at this time. No explanation for why, no timeline for when, no supervisor available. Dorothy's $2,240 Social Security deposit had landed in that account 2 days earlier. She could not access it. She couldn't pay her electric bill. She couldn't refill 2 prescriptions. She called the bank's 800 number 4 times over the next 5 days. Each time, she was told the same thing. Under review. We'll contact you when there's an update. On day 9, Dorothy called my office. She said something that I've thought about many times since that phone call. She said, "Marcus, I have never been in trouble a day in my life, and right now I feel like a criminal." She hadn't done anything wrong. She hadn't done anything unusual. She had done exactly what millions of retirees do every single month. I want to come back to Dorothy, but first I need to explain exactly why this happened, because once you understand the system, what happened to her stops being a mystery, and that's when you can protect yourself. Let me explain the program. It's called the Bank Secrecy Act. It was passed in 1970. The law, Title 31, United States Code, Section 5311(3), requires financial institutions to help the federal government detect money laundering and financial crime. It has been expanded significantly by the USA Patriot Act in 2001 and the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020. Under this law, your bank is required to file something called a Suspicious Activity Report, a SAR, with an agency called the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN. Every time they identify account activity that could, not does, could, indicate financial crime. Now, most people have heard of the $10,000 threshold. If you deposit or withdraw $10,000 or more in cash in a single day, the bank files a currency transaction report. That one people know about. But SAR thresholds are completely different. They're lower, they're broader, and they're triggered by patterns, not amounts. And they are decided, in most cases, not by a human being, but by software. Here is what that software is looking for. I'm going to go through 6 specific behaviors that trigger a flag or a freeze. For each one, I'm going to tell you what it is, why the system flags it, and what it looks like for a real retiree. Number 1. Regular cash withdrawals under $10,000. If you make consistent cash withdrawals, anywhere from $400 to $2,000, on a regular schedule, the bank's compliance software may interpret that as structuring. Structuring means deliberately keeping transactions below the reporting threshold. The software doesn't know you're doing it for groceries. It sees a pattern and it flags the pattern. A 73-year-old man in Phoenix was withdrawing $800 every 2 weeks for medical copays and groceries. After 8 months, his account was frozen. His Social Security funds deposited and sat there for 6 days while he couldn't access them. That was Dorothy's situation. 14 months of consistent, routine withdrawals, and the software finally flagged it. Number 2. Sudden changes in transaction patterns. If your account suddenly shows new payees, new amounts, or new frequency, especially after a major life event, that's a primary trigger. The system is looking for anything that disrupts an established pattern. A 66-year-old widow in Tennessee began paying all her bills herself for the first time after her husband died. She added 11 new payees in 30 days. The compliance system flagged it as a potential account takeover. Number 3. Transfers to a new third party. The first time you send money to a Zelle contact, a Venmo account, or a bank account that has never appeared in your transaction history, that gets flagged, especially if your account is held by someone over 65. Banks are required to watch for elder financial exploitation, and they do it with algorithms that cannot tell the difference between exploitation and a grandparent sending birthday money. A 69-year-old man in Florida sent $1,200 to his adult daughter's new Zelle account, the first Zelle transaction he'd ever made. The bank placed his account under monitoring status without notifying him. Number 4. Multiple check deposits in a short window. 3 or more checks from different issuers deposited within 5 to 7 business days. This mirrors a known fraud pattern, and it also mirrors what happens when you sell furniture, settle an estate, or receive charitable donations. The software doesn't know the difference. A 72-year-old woman in Michigan sold furniture from her late mother's estate and deposited 4 personal checks from 4 different buyers in 1 week. The bank froze the funds for 11 days. Number 5. Round number transactions. Consistently withdrawing or transferring exact amounts, $500, $1,000, $1,500, is a statistical marker in money laundering pattern analysis. Bank algorithms weight round numbers as a secondary risk indicator. It seems almost absurd, but it is documented. A retired teacher in Alabama who withdrew exactly $1,000 on the first of every month was flagged after her bank updated its compliance software in 2022. Number 6. Inactivity, followed by sudden activity. If an account has been dormant or low activity for 6 months or more and then shows multiple transactions, especially a large deposit, that closely resembles an account takeover fraud pattern. A 70-year-old in Colorado left a secondary savings account quiet for 2 years, then moved $8,000 into it for a home repair project. The account was frozen within 48 hours. Now, here is the third thing I mentioned at the beginning, the thing I said I'd come back to, and this is the one that most people never find out. When your bank files a suspicious activity report on your account, they are legally prohibited under 31 U.S.C. Section 5318(g)(2) from telling you that they did it. This is called the SAR secrecy provision. You have no right to know a report was filed. You have no right to see it. You have no right to contest it. And that report may sit in a federal database, Finch's BSA e-filing system, indefinitely. This has led to real documented consequences for ordinary Americans. The Institute for Justice, a non-profit legal organization, has documented cases where accounts were seized by the IRS after SAR filing, with no criminal charge ever filed. One documented case involved a 67-year-old restaurant owner in Iowa. His business account was seized after his bank filed a SAR based on regular cash deposits under $10,000. He was never charged with any crime. It took 18 months of legal proceedings to get his $32,820 back. That case is part of the Institute for Justice's Public Policing for Profit database at ij.org. The bank didn't freeze Dorothy's account because she did something wrong. It froze her account because the software said her behavior looked like a pattern. The software doesn't know she's a retired nurse in Macon, Georgia. It only sees numbers. Now let me tell you what you can do about it. I'm going to give you 5 specific steps. Stay with me through all 5, because the combination at the end is what actually makes this work. Step 1. The 2-bank rule. Maintain checking accounts at 2 separate financial institutions, not 2 accounts at the same bank, 2 different banks. If one account is frozen, the other stays active. Direct deposit your Social Security or pension into one. Keep a second account at a credit union or an online bank for bill pay and emergency access. If the first account is ever restricted, you have immediate access to funds at the second. You can open a second account at a federally insured credit union by visiting ncua.gov or at an online bank like Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs or Discover Bank. Most of these require no minimum balance. This is the single most important step in this video. Step 2. The transaction rationale log. Buy a lined notebook. Keep it in a drawer near where you manage your finances. Every time you make a cash withdrawal over $300, write 3 things: the date, the amount, and the reason. Groceries, prescription, property tax, car repair. 3 lines. Takes 30 seconds. If your account is ever frozen and you need to speak with a bank compliance officer or an attorney, this log demonstrates intent. It transforms your position from flagged account holder to documented organized customer with a clear record. I have seen this make a concrete difference. I've put a downloadable template for this log at marcusgraves.com/checklist. Step 3. The advance notice call. Before you make any unusual transaction, a large cash withdrawal, a new Zelle recipient, a check from an estate, a transfer you've never made before, call your bank's customer service number first. Tell them what you're about to do and why. Ask them to add a note to your account. Write down the date, time, and the name of the representative you spoke with. The bank's software will still flag the transaction. But when a human compliance reviewer sees your account, They will also see the note you left. In many cases, that note is enough to clear the flag before it escalates. This is not guaranteed, but it costs you 5 minutes, and it can save you weeks. Step 4. Join a credit union. Credit unions are member-owned, not-for-profit cooperatives regulated by the National Credit Union Administration, the NCUA. They are subject to the same Bank Secrecy Act requirements as commercial banks, but their compliance culture tends to be more relationship-based and less algorithm-driven. At a credit union, when your account triggers a flag, a human being is more likely to review it before the account is frozen. At a national bank, the software often acts first and the human reviews it after. As of 2024, the average credit union savings account pays 0.74% APY compared to 0.46% at traditional banks. And many credit unions offer 4 to 5% on certificates. You come out ahead on both safety and return. To find a credit union near you, go to mycreditunion.gov or use the NCUA's Credit Union Locator. Step 5. Know your escalation path. If your account is frozen right now, or if it happens in the future, here is exactly what you do. First, file a formal complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Go to consumerfinance.gov/complaint. Select bank account or service. It takes about 10 minutes. Once you file, the bank is legally required to respond within 15 days. In many cases, this triggers a human review and accelerates the resolution of your freeze. Second, contact the bank in writing, not by phone, and request a written explanation of the restriction. Put it in an email or a letter. Create a paper trail. Third, if the freeze extends beyond 14 days, consult with an enrolled agent or a consumer law attorney before taking further action. FinCEN's contact number is 1-800-767-2825. They cannot confirm or deny whether a SAR was filed on your account, but your CFPB complaint creates a formal federal record. That record matters. Now, here is the combination strategy, the one I use with clients who have had a freeze and want to make sure it never happens again. Keep your Social Security or pension deposit at a credit union. Step 4. Keep a secondary emergency checking account at an FDIC-insured online bank. Step 1. And before any transaction over $1,500, make the advance notice call. Step 3. 3 steps. No change to how you spend your money. No special accounts. No fees. This is how bank compliance officers manage their own accounts. And now you know it too. Before I come back to Dorothy, I want to flag 3 situations where your risk is significantly higher than average. These are situations where most financial advisors won't think to warn you. If any of these apply to you, pay extra attention. Situation 1. You recently lost a spouse. The 12 to 18 months following the death of a spouse is the highest risk period for account flagging. Everything changes at once. New payees, new withdrawal amounts, account name changes. A surviving spouse, often a woman, managing finances on her own for the first time, can trigger multiple flags simply by doing what needs to be done. If this is you, go to your branch in person. Bring your spouse's death certificate. Tell the branch manager you are now managing the accounts alone and ask them to note the life change in your file. Get the manager's name and email address. Situation 2. You are expecting an inheritance. A single large deposit from an estate, followed by a series of withdrawals as you pay off debts or distribute funds to family members, closely mirrors a money laundering pattern. The software cannot tell the difference between an inheritance and a fraud. If you know an estate distribution is coming, call your bank before the deposit arrives. Ask them to add a note that you are receiving estate funds. Bring documentation if you can. The deposit itself won't cause problems. The deposits and withdrawals together, with no context, will. Situation 3. You regularly send money to an adult child or grandchild. Regular transfers to a younger family member, even small amounts, $200 or $300 a month, can trigger elder financial exploitation flags. The system cannot tell the difference between a grandparent helping with rent and a scam victim being drained by a fraudster. If you do this regularly, document it. Consider keeping a dedicated account, separate from your primary checking, for these transfers. And if a bank representative ever questions these transfers, have a clear, simple answer ready. The bank isn't accusing you of anything, but it is treating you as a subject of automated scrutiny until its software decides otherwise. You deserve to know that. And now you do. Let me tell you what happened to Dorothy. On day 9 of her freeze, she called my office. That afternoon, I walked her through 2 steps. First, she filed a CFPB complaint online. It took her about 12 minutes. Second, the next morning she went to the branch in person with a written statement, 2 paragraphs, explaining her 14-month cash withdrawal pattern and the reason behind it. Household expenses, her husband's passing, managing money on her own for the first time. The CFPB complaint triggered the mandatory response deadline. The bank's compliance team reviewed her account manually. On day 12, 3 days after the complaint, Dorothy's account was fully restored. The bank issued a written apology and waived every fee that had accumulated during the freeze. The following week, Dorothy opened a second account at a local credit union. She now keeps 2 months of living expenses there at all times. She also started keeping a transaction log, a green notebook, she told me. Nothing fancy. She said this, and I've thought about it since. It's just a green notebook, but knowing it's there makes me feel like I'm the one in charge of my money again. Dorothy didn't need a lawyer. She didn't need to fight. She needed to know 2 steps, and someone who would tell her what they were. Here is the one thing I want you to walk out of this video with. If you make regular cash transactions, withdrawals, or deposits, write down the reason for any single transaction over $300. Date, amount, reason. That habit, done consistently, is the single most powerful protection available to you right now. Your bank will not tell you this. The IRS will not send you a warning. FinCEN will not call. The only person who can act on this information is you. And you now have it. I've put together a free 2-page retirement account protection checklist that walks through every step in this video in plain language you can keep in a drawer or hand to someone you trust. One last thing. If you have someone in your life who is over 60, a parent, a sibling, a neighbor, a close friend, please share this video with them today. Not because it's interesting, because it could protect them from something that has already happened to people exactly like them. Sharing this video is not a click, it's a kindness.